or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio. So today, we've got a bunch of new Pokemon cards to be talking about, including a character from Legends Arceus making his first ever appearance in the card game, although I'm fairly sure it was a character that was revealed before release, if my memory serves me correctly. And we've got a brand new weird holo pattern to talk about, so we might as well start there. You see, 3 of the new cards which are going to be coming in Battle Region over in Japan are going to be Vespiquen, Combi, and Honey, which is kind of cool. And we'll get into this trio of cards in just a moment, but what is particularly interesting here is the artwork they've showed off on the website, showing a weird holo pattern all over the card. You'll notice that although there are Pokeballs going on the card, they are firstly going over the entirety of the card, including the picture, which doesn't usually happen, and the top bit of the Pokeball there is all sparkly in a way that the bottom bit of the Pokeball isn't. Honestly, when I look at this, it just makes me want to see the real card. And I can't see the real card, and that makes me really genuinely sad, because I really want to see the real card, because this strikes me as a kind of thing which is going to be so much cooler in real life than it is seeing it on the computer screen. And the thing is that, recently we've seen some weird reverse holos coming around from Japan. They've had some really weird reverse holos in their sets. So, for instance, the 100 start decks had special reverse holos, like Slack Off and Side Up, the 2 Okacheke ones. And I'm sorry, I don't have pictures that really show these off. These are more ones that you've really got to see in person. They are not like the reverse holos that we get in our sets. They are so much better. Remember over in the 25th anniversary set, they did show off the square holo, like we can see on the Mew on the screen. I did pull a Xerneas one of these from some packs that the lovely Antoine Boulet sent us, and that is again a phenomenal holo pattern that we just don't see, and it was a really cool one in VMAX Climax as well. So basically, this is something Japan keeps doing. They've done it again. Don't expect to get this weird reverse holo pattern outside of Japan, because frankly, we don't generally get, when Japan does these weird things with holo patterns, we generally don't get them, which just makes me want to buy more and more boxes of this set. This set looks so good. But now that we mentioned that, we should probably talk about Vespiquen and what it actually does. Well, for free energy, you can do 90 damage, nobody cares. But for 1 grass energy, you can reveal any number of honey cards from your hand, and this attack does 60 damage for each card revealed in this way. So basically, you're talking about a stage 1 single prize Pokemon for a single energy that can do 240 damage. Like, I cannot be the only one that thinks this is really, really, really good. And in a way it is, and in a way it's Miltank. Because you see, back in Lost Thunder, we got Miltank, who incidentally does come in, not as an actual character rare, but very much a precursor there too. And for free energy, you had Milk Cannon. Reveal any number of Moo Moo Milk cards in your hand. This attack does 60 damage for each card you revealed in this way. And as a bit of a spoiler alert, Honey is a healing card in the same way that Moo Moo Milk was a healing card. And actually, Miltank, and weirdly enough, we've got a Miltank to look at in this as well, in this particular video. And here we've got basically the same attack. Reveal this particular item card, 60 damage for each one you reveal. But now, instead of being free energy on a basic, it's 1 energy on a stage 1. And don't get me wrong, right? Being a stage 1 is a bit awkward, but stage 1s can work. And single energy is great. And this has so much more potential than Miltank had, because it's a single coloured energy. It's just a basic energy. It's so easy. But we've got hand disruption around at the moment. Like, everyone's playing a bunch of Marnie. So clearly what's going to happen is, if you ever get a situation where you've got 4 of these in your hand, your opponent is going to drop a Marnie. Like, that is definitely going to happen. And that's going to be really sad and put you back in the game. And that's the challenge here. If you can get a deck that draws consistently enough and keeps these in your hand, and you are legit doing 240 damage for a single energy on stage 1, this is flat out phenomenal. Absolutely brilliant. If, however, you can't, and I think there's going to be a lot of games where you can't, this is going to be absolutely nowhere near as good. Incidentally, Combi for a single grass energy lets you search for an item card and put it in your hand. It's not good. Nobody really wants to do that. My point is that you can do that. It is an option. And, you know, in the early game, if you've got nothing else going on, you can at least get those honey out nice and early. I love this. And if you can build a deck which can either keep these in your hand or find them reliably, this can be really good. And I do need to shout out my Miltank here, the one that came around in Evolving Skies, because my Miltank has got the ability Dew Guard. Whenever your opponent plays a supporter card from their hand, prevent all effects of that card done to you or your hand. This will protect you from stuff like Marnie. So there is a chance here. Maybe if you can take advantage well enough of something like my Miltank, Vespiquen could actually be really good. I really want it to be good. I hope there's a chance. I'm giving it 4 Wasties, and I am well aware I am probably wildly overstating it, and I don't even really care, honestly. I just really like this card. This is my kind of card. I had so much fun with the old Vespiquen that did damage depending on the amount of Pokemon in your discard pile. Be revenge, if you will. And I like single energy stage 1 Pokemon. This is absolutely the kind of Pokemon for me, and maybe it's never going to be good enough. Maybe my Miltank doesn't help you enough, but I want it to, ladies and gentlemen. I really, really want it to. As for Honey itself, we will talk about this briefly, because it seems kind of rude if we don't. It's an item card. Choose one of your Pokemon, flip a coin till you get tails, heal 40 damage for each heads that you flip. Firstly, this is wildly unreliable, because if you flip tails, you played an item card that does nothing. And honestly, right, you got like a 1 in 4 chance of healing 80. Healing 80 is great, but you're going to heal 80 as often as you heal nothing. And you're hoping to get 40? No, it's not a good card. Essentially, the only reason you ever play Honey is in a Vespiquen deck. And in a Vespiquen deck, you are not playing Honey. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure there are games where you will play it in an emergency because you have to heal to survive, blah, blah, blah. My point is, if you're playing Honey, something's gone wrong. Honey exists in your deck as essentially a blank card. It might as well just be a blank card with Vespiquen's face doing a giant grin and no text. That is essentially what this card is. You need it in your deck to draw with Vespiquen, and I desperately, desperately want Vespiquen to be good. But I did promise you we had a new Miltank as well, and we do. Is it any good? Well, what we've got here is an ability, Miraculous Body. Prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's Pokemon V. Yes, this is a good card. Now, it is not an instant win card. It is not the kind of card you can put in your deck and then sit back and, smile and laugh, except against some decks. We all saw in the Players' Cup 1 that there were a couple of Australian players who played Bronzong in their deck. And Bronzong wasn't that good of a tech against most things. It protected you from fire Pokemon. The thing is, because the other players, some of them, were literally only playing fire Pokemon in their deck, the second you got Bronzong on the field, you won. Similar kind of thing here. If you come against a deck which is entirely Pokemon V, and yes, that does include VMAX and V-Star, you win. Simple as that. Because the thing is, this ain't no rulebox Pokemon. So the usual kind of stuff we would use to turn off abilities are things like Path to the Peak. Path to the Peak ain't going to do nothing here, ladies and gentlemen. Because Path to the Peak only turns off abilities of Pokemon with rule boxes. And Miltank don't got no rule box, ladies and gentlemen. So this is actually fantastic. I really like this. I don't like it all the time. I don't like it in every matchup. I don't think it's going to be something around which you can build an entire deck. But I absolutely do think that this is a basic Pokemon that can completely wall some decks. And now everybody is going to have to think, what about Miltank? Because Miltank's a basic Pokemon that attacks for colorless energy. Literally any deck whatsoever can play Miltank, as long as they're playing any energy, which I don't think there's any really good zero energy decks around at the moment. So like any deck can play Miltank. And to be fair, even if you're not playing any energy, if your opponent has used more cards than you and is going to deck out before you, you can literally just play Miltank down and just never attack with it and wait for your opponent to deck out. I'm not saying you should, but I am saying it's an option. And there are going to be plenty of decks out there that are playing 1 or 2 single prize Pokemon, and they will use those 1 or 2 single prize Pokemon to just take out Miltank. It is a card you've got to be very, very careful with. However, it can be really good. The attack, 2 colorless energy, 10 damage, plus 20 more for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Your opponent, I suppose, could go down to no bench, and you're only hitting 10 damage a turn, which would be sad. And with double turbo energy, you'd actually be hitting 0 energy per turn. Try and use twin energy where you can, yeah. But generally speaking, this attack is largely irrelevant, because Miltank is not a card that comes out and smashes for the victory. Miltank is the kind of card that comes out, and if your opponent doesn't have a counter, you just sit there and win the game really slowly. So as long as it's got a functional attack, it's fine. And this does have a functional attack, which is nice. But hey, we've got a new Pokemon V we haven't even talked about yet. How about that Virizion V? Now, what we got here is 200 HP, which honestly for a Pokemon V is a bit low. And the ability Grassland Wind. Your Pokemon with grass energy attached cannot be affected by special conditions. Heal any special condition from these Pokemon. Hey, that sounds kind of familiar. If I'm honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, that is an ability which sounds kind of familiar, and it should. It's literally the ability of Virizion EX. Like, very literally, this is Virizion EX come back to life. This is the same ability we had there, but now it's back. And it's a good ability. Now, that wasn't why you played Virizion EX. You played it for the Emerald Slash that accelerated energy, and then you smashed with Genesect. And incidentally, Virizion Genesect was the best deck in the world for a while. I mean, back in Worlds 2014? Yeah, it was 2014. Virizion Genesect not only won Worlds with Andrew Estrada piloting it, but we actually saw 3 of the top 4 decks playing Virizion Genesect. It absolutely destroyed. Absolutely destroyed. So yeah, that's kind of cool. And then we got this ability back. And it's cool. But again, that is not what powered Virizion Genesect. It's not what made that deck great. This is a nice ability. And certainly, if there are any decks that are reliant on special conditions, this is absolutely great. Bearing in mind, something like Fusion Strike energy totally counts here. What that means is if you're playing a Fusion Strike deck and you are ever worried about special conditions, you can play Virizion. And yes, I know you don't always want to play non-Fusion Strike Pokemon. You usually don't. I'm just saying it's an example. Any of these energies that provide any energy will totally work here. And then you can get immunity, and we saw that with Virizion and Special Energy back in the day. That can absolutely work here. It's a basic Pokemon. It's a nice little tech. It's a kind of thing that is going to be able to protect you from entire decks that rely on special conditions. If any of them come around, frankly, ladies and gentlemen, it's really cool. As for the attack, what we've got here is 2 grass, 1 colorless, 200 damage. This Pokemon can't attack during your next turn. And this is basically Genesect. Genesect, incidentally, is why you generally don't want to play non-Fusion Strike Pokemon in Fusion Strike decks. You draw fewer cards. This is Genesect, but bad. And on the face of it, it looks kind of like the same attack. 2 colored, 1 colorless energy, 200 or 210 damage, stops you attacking next turn. The thing is, there are a lot of Pokemon V out there with 210, so Genesect will actually KO a lot more Pokemon than Virizion. But also, Genesect's got Metal Saucer to accelerate metal energy. And Genesect has got Elisa's Radiance to accelerate Fusion Strike energy. And actually, that makes a gigantic, humongous difference. And it really is that simple. It's Elisa's Sparkle. We kept calling it Elisa's Radiance when we were translating it. It's Elisa's Sparkle. My apologies. My point is, Virizion does not have the energy acceleration that Genesect has. Maybe if Cherrim could accelerate energy to Virizion, but Virizion's got a rule box, so you can't. So sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I love this ability, and I do think this will see play for the ability. I think it's a phenomenal tech, but I don't think it's anything more than that. I'm giving it 3 Wassies, because it's just a tech. As for Miltank, I'm giving that 4 Wassies as well. I think that's got potential. There we go. And that just leaves us with one more card we need to have a little bit of a chat about, and it is Kamado, one of the new characters that came around in Legends Arceus. And what this allowed you to do is, we got a supporter card, you choose one card from your hand, you keep that, you discard all your other cards, and then you draw 4 cards. Obviously, you can't use this if it's the last card in your hand, because you wouldn't be able to keep a card in your hand. Which is a little bit harsh. You can't just use it as a draw 4 with an empty hand. And that could be relevant sometimes, especially against hand disruption decks. But my point is, we got a new draw card, and you know what? It's a good draw card. Now, in a deck like Wormadam, for instance, I am loving this. Because remember, Wormadam has got the same attack, essentially, as something like Vespiquen, whereby you do more damage for each Pokemon in your discard pile. So clearly here, this is an aggressive supporter card that can, you need twin energy in that deck. So if you've got a twin energy in hand, you keep twin energy, but you discard all of the Pokemon, that's going to be really good. Even in other decks, this is a nice aggressive draw supporter. You get to keep that one useful card and draw 4, and a lot of the time, we all play Professor's Research, but Professor's Research makes you discard your entire hand, and that can be a bad thing. Sometimes that's too much. We all play Marnie. Marnie makes you shuffle your entire hand back into your deck, so you don't get to keep that one card that you might need. And I am not saying that Kamado is going to start knocking Professor's Research and Marnie out of decks. I don't think it's going to, frankly. But as an extra option, as a thing that decks are going to play as extra draw cards, absolutely. As a preferred option in something like a Wormadam deck that really wants to be discarding aggressively, absolutely. I like this. I think it is not for every deck. And even when it is for that deck, I'm not sure it's always as a 4 of. But there are clearly situations where this is going to be a phenomenal supporter. And I, for one, am a very, very, very big fan of it. I think it's going to see a bunch of play. I'm giving it 4 Wassies. I like the cards we're talking about in this video. I think Vespiquen has got a genuine chance to be a top single prize deck. I think Miltank as a tech to block Pokemon V is great. I think Kamado could be a draw supporter that sees a whole bunch of play. Although I'm not loving Virizion V, that ability could really help out some decks. This is a good set of cards, ladies and gentlemen. It's a good way to start the weekend. But I want to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section, would you? Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.